What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to JG's Lounge. We're back with another episode of Manifesting Conversations right here with a good buddy of mine, Daniel Jackson. Man, how you doing?
Not too shabby today, man. How you doing?
I'm on here with you, man. Gotta be happier.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. But
We'll
we'll
find
figure it
out
out.
within the next
Yeah,
hour, I'm sure.
we'll figure it out.
The big thing about manifesting conversations is, as you and I both know, we've talked to so many people everywhere across the world. I've met agnostics, I've met Satanists, I've met Christians, I've met, it goes on and on.
Yeah,
The thing that I'm fascinated by is the commitment that people have in their beliefs. And I'm always intrigued to hear about it, as long as they're not like pressuring me, like, no, you're wrong. What you're telling me is wrong. Those are the kind of people I don't like to talk to. Just
correct.
being real here. I'll just turn the screen off and this will never be an episode.
Yeah,
But I'm very intrigued by people's beliefs and how they've got involved in them, and especially people who have the ability to kind of communicate. And that's one of the guests I'm talking to tonight, or the guest I'm talking to tonight, Spirit Medium Daniel. So before we kind of get into, what you do, I want to kind of dig into your background a little bit, kind of your upbringing, your life as a kid, because obviously I'm sure it didn't relate to where you are now.
no, not even close. No. I grew up in a town in New Jersey, a small town called National Park. It was right on the edge of the Delaware River. And where I grew up in that little town was a battlefield that had a little hospital there. This is where the Hessians fought. And we saw spirit in our home because of, I guess, because of that battle, you know. I say I guess, but I know it's that. But
How old were you at the time?
when that started for me, I can remember as far back as being 3 years old. But my whole family was seeing it. I have two brothers and a sister, and with my parents being there as well, experiencing it, it made it a lot easier to deal with. I wasn't afraid of it because they were there to consult me, to let me know that this is okay. There's nothing to be afraid of. But there was never any instances in our home that the spirit did to make us be afraid. So never really had a problem with it.
Okay, yeah, and did that affect you kind of growing up, like in the school system and like being around friends?
Yeah, because eventually friends would hear about it, and I had one friend come over to the house one time. He wanted to witness this stuff for himself, and him and I were sitting around eating some sandwiches, and then the record player, the radio, turned on, and the volume went all the way up to 10, and it scared the crap out of him. So much so that he had turned whiter than any ghost I'd ever seen, and he ran out of the house. But he would always tell that story at school every time he'd be around the other kids. He would say, "Oh, we were sitting there, and all of a sudden the radio turned on." And yeah, but he didn't mention the part that he was screaming, running out of my house in bloody murder. While I was sitting there laughing, just turning the radio dial and turned it off. And walked away.
Yeah,
So
because it was normal for you, right?
yeah, it's normal for me. That's
So, I mean, growing up, before you really started kind of bringing this on as, I wouldn't even say it's a career, just like your path.
yeah,
What
I'd say
what
that.
did you do prior to becoming a spirit medium? Like, what was your life?
Just a regular life. I worked a lot of different jobs. I by the time I was coming to the end of my regular working career, I worked for 6 years in prison. So I ride motorcycles. I was in a motorcycle club at one point. But just a regular life. I played in a band for years. I played drums for 20 something years and played in a band and had big hair and zebra striped spandex and all the cool stuff. I thought I was cool looking, maybe not so much,
The
but
stuff that was cool back then.
yeah, it was cool. Well, it was the 80s, so I had big hair and all that stuff. I mean,
I don't see you walking around in any zebra striped pants today.
Uh, no, maybe some boxer briefs. I don't know. Maybe I don't know, but nobody wants as back in the 80s. Nobody wants to see that now either. So But yeah, I was just a regular guy, nothing except I did have encounters with spirit the entire time. It wasn't just at that home in New Jersey. I came home from a gig one time and laid down in bed, and when I did, something laid down next to me, and this happened 3 or 4 times, and I just kept
Mhm.
rolling over to see what was there, and then that 5th time when it happened, I rolled over to see what was going on, and whatever was there picked up the blanket that I had on top of me. It brought it all the way up to the ceiling, it shook it above me, and then it dropped it on top of me. And then for 2 years after that, I slept on the couch downstairs because I was scared shitless at that point. So, yeah, but it was but that was by the time I was 17, my mom and dad and I moved to Delaware from New Jersey, and that instance happened in Delaware. And
Mm.
everything else that happened to me happened in Delaware at that point. So again, it was just but it was happening everywhere I was going. It wasn't just in a house, you know. I'd ride down the street in a car and I'd get a really chill up my spine like, "Ooh, what the heck was that?" And I'd be
Right.
looking around and there I am. I'm driving past the graveyard. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I was getting it everywhere I go.
So it scared you, but like, is it something that you kind of adapted with, like prior to like taking it on head first? You know, did you just kind of accept that you had the ability to acknowledge it and to interact with it?
Well, at that point, I wasn't even really interacting with it, nor did I know that I had any type of ability. I was walking around being me, and I had lots of ghost stories to tell my friends. Uh, it was just that much, and it was so much that my friends would always stare at me like, "Man, maybe you got something else going on," and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I see a lot of spirit all the time. I hear things a lot, so but I don't know what it's all about. I mean, I was even in the guy in my 30s and 40s, you know, watching the ghost shows, you know, because I was interested in it, because I had seen so much in my life, I wanted to see what these people on TV were doing with it. So, yeah, I was interested in it, but I never really took it to anything further than that, throughout my life, not up until I was turning 50 when this really came on. My wife and I went on or my wife went on vacation to California, to visit her daughter for 2 weeks, and when she came back, she told me about her adventures, and I told her about mine. I saw everything you could ever imagine in a horror film going on in my house for 2 weeks.
While she was gone,
Yes, while she was gone.
do you think that had something to do with the interaction and the energy that was going on in your house?
Yes, mainly to be like a test for me, and I know now that it was my spirit guides that were doing that to me because it had to be all about me
Right.
to see what I was going to do with it next. Was I going to be scared, and run and hide, or was I gonna face it and take it on and say, "Okay, there's gotta be something else to it. I need
Right.
to look into this."
There's one thing that you just said that I've noticed that I realize that separates people who are in this for the clout and just kind of to make money, and the people who actually truly, I believe, have the ability to communicate or channel, whatever term you guys want to use,
Sure.
the other side or the other energies of other dimensions. And what you said was that you were forced to kind of go through an experience to see how you'd react to it or over. I've heard I've talked to probably a dozen. You and one other person have shared that same similar story of having to kind of go through this like really terrifying and not necessarily in terrifying, just this the unknown that something that people don't understand or see. You went through it in order to kind of understand where your purpose is in it.
Well, when that experience happened for me, it was absolutely terrifying. I was seeing, green and red mist pouring out of the walls, with skulls coming out of the walls, with eyes that were red and they had fangs. I saw 8-foot skeletons, 7-foot skeletons walking around the house, you know? I saw the famed, Hat Man appear in my basement. I was lying in bed, never wanting to be late for work, even though I had an alarm clock, but I'd wake up in the middle of the night, look over and see what time it is, and one of those times when I rolled over to see what was there, to look at the time, there was a little girl who was kneeling next to my bed, and she had, blonde hair and blue eyes, was wearing a little blue and white dress, you know? Uh, so, and those types of things were not, I mean, it wasn't so bad with her, but some of the other things I saw a cloud form above my bed, and then it opened up to like a window of blackness, and I saw 2 skeleton arms come out. But what I thought was kind of weird, but everyone else would go, "Oh, aren't the arms weird enough?" Well, when the arms came out, they didn't have any hands. So, and then it pulled a whole body out, and then this face with bigger eyes was like looking around my room and checking things out, and then checking me out, and so yeah, I mean that stuff was absolutely terrifying. But I was also again going, "What is going on here? Why am I seeing so much?" I mean, all in a 2-week period. Well, my wife is gone. Why wasn't it happening when she was here? You know? So
Right.
that really freaked me out. But I was like,
Well,
"There's got to be something else to this."
I mean, would you think that maybe her absence is what they needed in order to kind of get you to go through it so that you didn't have that kind
Yeah,
of person to lean on?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, my wife is a really good ground for me.
Yeah.
She's also a very strong empath and picks up on a lot of feelings and energies and stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, absolutely. She had to be away so I could experience this for myself, for me to make a decision to either, again, be afraid of it or actually move forward and try to figure out what's going on. And that's what I did.
Right.
I
And
moved forward.
you've talked to like other spirit mediums and stuff like that. I mean, and I'm
Yeah.
sure you along with me can agree that a lot of them are not accurate. They're just in it for the money or the
Yeah,
clout.
there's a lot of them who are just trying to get into your pockets. That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I
Or
mean,
they
you
try to
there's I
they
could
try to
read somebody. I could stand there and read
Right,
somebody and kind of, spook them. That's not
right,
difficult.
right, yeah, but yeah, the way that I do a reading with someone is and, that's where the real answers come out, and every time I do a reading like that, uh, I mean, I'm not saying it from an egotistical way or anything, but I get it right.
Right.
I can't it's ev as I tell everybody, usually at the end of a reading, I can't make this shit up. I mean, I can't just,
Right.
pull it out of my ass and go, "Okay, here it is. Well, you must have read something on Facebook." Well, I just met you, so no,
Right.
that's what I'm not doing that,
Well, and I think a
but
lot of
yeah,
people just assume that, like, too, like, if I
yeah,
talk to a spirit medium, they're just gonna kind of say things that are gonna word it to where it's something that happened.
right. Well, they feel that way, because of unfortunately, that's the way we are portrayed in a lot of television shows and movies. And they portray it that way because they don't want you to believe in it. They don't want you to believe that you can actually get answers from someone who is that kind of connected. So, I mean, there are the television ones that are on right now that, again, they go and they do some big event somewhere, and they read some people there. It's like 10,000 people, and 8 people get read. So the other 9,992 people are basically paying a ticket to watch the circus show. That's what they're doing. But even that, when I speak in front of people, I'm not there to read the audience or read people in the audience. I'm there to guide them so they can learn how to learn their lessons and fulfill their purpose and go home and not have to repeat this life all over again. So that's what I do. So it's more of a teaching moment for me than it is trying to,
Right.
put on a circus show, because
Okay,
that's
so
what
we've
it
talked
is.
about, kinda your upbringing and a little bit of, obviously you've been having this going on throughout your life.
Hasn't
But
stopped.
and if anything, you've it's probably increased.
Yeah, it's like being
Uh,
it's like being in a room with 1,000 people, except nobody leaves and more just keep coming in.
right.
every day.
So, at what point did you decide, okay, I'm done with my day job, and I want to help people. I want to pursue this.
Um, I had been talking to someone else, another medium, someone who I held in a high regard, and she had told me uh, a year prior to me leaving that she said, where are you at?" I said, "Oh, I'm just leaving work." She says, "Work?" I said, "Yeah, I work in prison." She's like, "Oh no, you're not supposed to be doing that. You're supposed to be using your abilities, and you won't be there long." Well, she was correct. I wasn't there that long. It was a year later. I left out of there. I just I knew I couldn't be where I was anymore. Um, One reason, there was just too much negativity in that place. It was just a horrible place to be. And
Uh-huh.
two, I just knew I just felt within inside of me that there was something more for me to do.
Right.
Um, I was at that point of developing this ability. I wasn't developing it on my own. I had a group of women who are all professional mediums who invited me to their group to discuss these types of things. But what happened was they eventually were helping me to develop this. And then throughout that year, I learned a lot about myself that I just didn't know, and things that I could do. But by the end of it, I just knew that that was now what I was supposed to be doing. Just a regular job was not going to cut it for me anymore. I was supposed to be out there helping as many people as I can. So I said to my wife, I said, I just don't feel like I should be at this place anymore. And she said, No, you shouldn't. I know we talked about it before. I told you should have quit about 6 months ago. I said, yeah, but I didn't feel right about doing it then, but I feel right about it now. So it was that moment. I called up my boss and said, "Hey, I'm coming in to get my stuff, and then I'm out of there." So I did and went in and
Wow.
picked up my stuff, said goodbye to everybody, and that was it. And then the day I got home, my wife and I started our business, Beyond the Veil LLC. And then we just I started doing it. Now, when I started doing it, I was doing readings for free. I would let people just, get readings with me, just so I could learn how it was going to work for me, how I was going to do everything
Right.
for people and just get some experience with it. But I eventually, within 6 months, had to start charging people, but I wasn't charging them much. I was charging them $50. I was having them charge them because they call me up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Hey Daniel, I got a question for you, and I go, well, I got a question for you. What is it? Why are you calling me at 4 o'clock in the morning when I got to go to work? So yeah, I mean, come on, I mean,
Right.
it was just getting crazy, but yeah, it was a huge decision to make, because I was now at a point where I would say this in a way that someone who is gay what they would be doing is I was now about to come out of the closet and come out and tell people, okay, this is who I am, this is what I am, and this is what I'm going to be doing. And
Right.
that was a huge thing for me to find out who really were my friends and who weren't. And I found out who weren't very quickly. Uh, so yeah, it was a big step for me to take, but I knew again within inside of me, my soul was talking to me, telling me this is what you're meant to do. This is what you have to do, along with hearing all the things that I heard and saw all the things that I saw while
Right.
developing this ability was just, validation for me to show me that this is what I meant to do.
Right. Now, when you sit down with people and you do readings for them, um, is it like you when they talk to you, their presence of who they're trying to talk to is just already there, or is it just sort of entities that are just kind of that know the answer are there to kind of help?
Um, well, they know. Well, the first thing they do is they usually come up to my table, and they'll ask my wife because I'm sitting in a chair, usually facing the wall because someone's sitting at my table. But whoever's coming up, they'll come up and they'll ask my wife. So, what does he do? What does he actually do? And my wife tells him, well, what he is doing is he's going to help you to get answers, but what he does is he's very blunt with what he says and what the way he brings about this reading for people. He's not
Right.
going to hold anything back, uh, because people need that. And she'll even do it for me. She'll say, if you just come to him because there's something you want to hear, then go over there to that person because
Right.
you don't actually want the truth. He's going to bring you the truth. But whatever comes through, I'm going to give them. Now, I'm not necessarily the person or the medium that you're going to come to that you want to talk to your mom and dad. I can get answers about them, but I'm not that medium who's just going to get answers from your mom and dad. I communicate with what we refer to as archangels. They are not men with wings and shields and swords by any means. They provide me answers for people so they can get some peace of mind and clarity, but what I'm here to do is give them direction to get through their lives, to get to the place where they need to be so they can learn their lessons, they can fulfill their purpose, and that's why we keep coming back over and over again because the purpose isn't fulfilled. And I'm here to get them to get that done so they can go home and stay home. But I mean,
Right.
also, they will ask me questions like, I want to do this job and this job. Which one should I do? That one. Why that one?
Right.
And then I'll go into why that one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm here to help them get through this life in the now and in the
Right.
future. I don't worry about that past life crap because
Well,
those lives were important 100 years ago.
well,
That
and
the
even then, like we live in the now. That doesn't
Right,
matter.
right, it doesn't matter. You don't need a story from 100 years ago from a person you were 100 years ago because you don't live in that time anymore. You don't live in that kind of environment anymore. You live in this one.
Uh-huh.
And the reason you're here now is because the previous life you were in before this one, you didn't get it right. So why do you want information from a life that you didn't get right? You need information that's going to help
Right.
you to get this one right so you can go home and stay home and not have to come back and do this again.
Right. You know, it's funny because we've talked, and I actually do want to kind of touch base on the archangels. But so I interviewed a Marina Jacoby. I told you about her. I think you could even listen to some of the show. Very
Yeah.
well read. So she has a lot of science to back why she believes the way she is, or she does. But even she mentions archangels more as like an extraterrestrial race.
Correct.
Um, and she even mentioned your. I mean, I've already always kind of believed a lot of what you've told me, and I've told you that we've had this conversation. Even she mentioned them not being human, like them being more like mantis and other
Correct.
creatures. They don't
That's what
look
I
like
see. Yeah.
humans.
Yeah, I when I see, archangels around me, I mean, there's a couple that I've seen that are human, but they were humans long time ago. Um, because it takes a very long time to become that. Your grandmother doesn't die and become an angel or an archangel. It just doesn't happen. They don't have wings because where they are, there's no wind beneath their wings in order for them to fly. Okay? They just are where they are. But when I see them, I see 8-foot praying mantises standing around me, 7-foot praying mantises. I see some that look like birds. I see some that like an owl. I see some that look uh, like uh, like lizards, that type of thing. I see some that are humanoid, and I see some that I can't even describe because there's nothing here to equate it to.
Mhm.
But they are just beings of a higher consciousness. But yeah, when I see them, I would say absolutely say they are more what we would refer to as aliens.
Right, right,
That's all.
and even so, aliens, ghosts, stuff like that. Those kind of terminologies, I feel like, are so vague compared to what they actually are. You know, I've really been digging into kind of quantum entanglement and quantum
Sure.
manifestations, and a lot of it really resonates with how I've always believed, kind of the things that I've talked to you about, and these like this vibrational frequency that we all have, and it's everywhere,
Right.
and
It is everywhere.
there's just this existences above us on these higher levels that we could be able to tap into. Some of us, as such as you, have that ability. Not that we don't. It's just we don't
Correct.
slow down enough or clear our
Correct.
minds enough to see it.
Well, we don't have the opportunity to slow our minds down or clear our minds enough because we're always inundated with politics and sports and the news and all this.
TikTok.
And yeah, TikTok, and you need 6 cars and 7 houses and 10 boats, and you need to go on vacation, and you need all this. You need all this stuff. You need this in your life, type of stuff.
Right.
And we're always inundated with all that all the time. We don't have time. I got to get my kids to soccer practice. I got to clean my house. I got to go out and get this super wonderful job so I can have all these super wonderful gold chains hanging around my. No, but we play into it. We buy into everything, thinking that that is going to complete our lives. It is not.
Right.
No, the true answer is the true place that you're going to complete your life comes from within.
Right.
But no one wants to take the time to do that either. They want to go to Staples and get one of those easy buttons and go click, yay! I'm gonna, or the new one, and I'll talk about it too. The new one. Oh, let's take a bunch of psychedelic drugs, and now we can connect with our inner selves. And we can connect with spirit and all. No, you're getting high. That's
Yes.
all you're doing. It's psychedelic. Everybody knows that. You're taking drugs to manipulate. Everything about you is the soul. It is not your brain. And the only thing you're doing with those drugs, which your brain is already a block, is just clouding that block even more. So you are not having a spiritual awakening while taking drugs. You're getting high. That's all
You're
you're
just
doing.
altering your perception.
Correct.
And yeah, you might be seeing things, but the problem is that you can't justify them because you're not of clear mind.
Right. You're not of clear mind. And that's what I promote to people. In order to get clear messages, you must be clear.
Right.
It's that simple. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. No tattoos. I don't do any of that stuff because spirit tells me not to do that stuff. I don't even do CBD. Nothing. I won't even take an aspirin if I get a headache. I have to be clear to get the messages that I do. So yeah, I mean, I find it easy for me to do, but other people they want the easy way out. They want the
It's like
easy button to do it.
well, you have to detox the body and the mind.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
And it's not just the alcohol and so it's what you eat too. It's what you
Yeah.
eat, it's what you digest. I mean, it's altering your body, it's making you feel certain ways, and it's just deflecting what your purpose is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure somebody's gonna go, "Oh, well, he's got a coffee cup next to him." Well, in this coffee cup it's just a cup. Don't associate it always with coffee. It's actually a sippy cup for an adult is what it is. But I have water in there. It's a root beer flavored water. That I have that. I have other, basically water. That's what I drink, and I drink like 3 quarts of it a day. I'm just like crazy about it. But yeah, I have to keep myself clear in order to get these clear messages because otherwise you're just clouding yourself. You're clouding
Right.
yourself with stuff or other stuff. I mean, it's that simple, but people can't see that.
Right. So what are some of the things that you've learned as you've kind of developed yourself into being a spirit medium? Because you said that you've kind of you got involved with a group of women. Is there things like within that group that you're like, I don't necessarily see it that way? And like you've kind of found your own way of acknowledging what you know.
Well, they were just trying to show me uh like one time I woke up in the morning and I heard a voice come in my mind and it said, we want you to sit with Shaban. There was one of the women there, and we want you to ask her if it's okay, ask her permission, and then sit across from her, close your eyes, clear out your mind, and hold out your hands. And they said, and just watch. And I mean, I heard that as plain as day, and I was like, okay. so so went to this meeting that we were having. We did the meeting. We just talked about a lot of things. And then at the end, I said to this woman, I said, "Hey, Siobhan," I said, "they want me to sit with you, and we're supposed to clear our minds and close my eyes. I'm supposed to hold out my hands, and then you're supposed to hold my hands, and something's going to come through." And then one of the other women who was in the room, across the other room, she saw me talking to her and heard that, and she said, "Are you getting ready to channel?" And I said, "I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing here, I'm
Right.
green, I don't know what the heck I'm doing, but I'm just doing what they told me to do." And she was like, "Hey, everybody, Daniel's gonna channel it, come on over here." So they all walk over, and I'm like, Okay." And then, we do this where I close my eyes and all that, and then I hold out my hands, and then when she holds my hands, she literally just goes like this, like, and I was like, "What the hell?" And she was like, "Oh my god, that's the strongest energy I ever felt in my life." And then she just started saying things that she was seeing. And some of the things that she was talking out in there, I don't necessarily tell a lot of people because, she did see, my guides with me, and she saw them standing in front of me and around me, and then she went into this other big spiel about what she was seeing, that was pretty frightening, to say the least, and then a message came through about me, and she was telling me about me, she was telling me about a previous time, a week before that, uh, I was at a class, doing an exercise and did this same channeling thing. I didn't know what I was doing there either, and a message came through, and so during this message with this woman a week later, she was telling me about that, and I didn't tell them about it. So and she told me who came through and who was standing around me, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, well, I forgot them." I
So
later I forgot I said, "Yeah, that's what was going on at
so
that
you've
class."
actually you've met mediums that can actually see your like things that have happened to you just by being in your presence.
Oh, yeah, I yeah. I mean, that's the best way to say it. Yes, I was just doing a show the other day, another podcast, and the woman picked up something about me, and she said, some some things that I already knew, but I didn't these are things that, again, I don't talk about with a lot of people because they are not abilities that I can use that are going to help people.
That's fair.
They are just for me. But
Yeah.
she picked up on it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. But
So
yeah, I learn a lot from it, but I learned during or being with them how much more of me there is to me.
well, and like we talk about like the archangels and stuff like that. I mean, I feel like from like a religious aspect, like if you were to go into a church and talk to a Christian at a Pentecostal or like a Baptist or a Catholic church and you started telling them these things, they would look at you like you're crazy.
Well, yeah, until I actually held their hand and started telling them about them, then they
Yeah.
wouldn't think I was crazy, but then at that point, they would call me an abomination.
Well, yeah.
They do that.
Yay, yay, religion.
Yeah, yeah, the people who wanna tell you how to live your life the way they want you to live it and give them 10%. Why do they want you to give
Yes.
them 10%? 'Cause they don't wanna get a real job, that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you say that you've had quite a bit of backlash as much as you have had good come out of what
Um,
you do?
yeah, yeah, I get a lot of backlash from people, but again, these are, usually very religious people who give me all the backlash.
Right.
But
I
I
think that there's something to be said about someone who gets upset about your beliefs. Like if you're trying to force someone
and I
to believe
and I don't,
you,
and I
yeah,
don't. Yeah,
you don't. No, no, I'm not talking about you, but like
yeah,
there's a lot of like mainstream churches that
yeah.
if you don't believe their way, you're wrong and you're going to hell.
Well, they're the most judgmental people I've ever met in my life.
And that's not, in my opinion, how it should be. I mean, you believe what you want to
Correct,
believe, and if somebody wants to hear it and you're available, then you tell them, it's not
correct.
It's not something you
That's
pressure somebody into.
correct. I give them the opportunity to try to understand it or to be educated on it. But if they don't want to, that's up to them. I don't have a
Right.
problem with it. Yeah.
Right. So
But
when you go do these setups, you go to like malls or you go to where conventions,
yep.
you set up. Now, do you already have like a agenda lined up, or do people just approach you?
Well, let me get this straight. So I don't set up. My wife does not allow me to set up. We will walk in, we'll bring the stuff in, and she'll say, "Okay, go mingle around and find something to do," because she wants to set it up the way she wants to set it up. So, and I will get the heck out of the way. Yeah. So then she gets it all set up. I was about to say we, but she gets it all set up. Yeah, I'll help her do one thing. I'll put my cards out on the table. That's about it. Uh, so then we get that all set up, and then she sits in her chair. I sit in my chair, but there's another chair there with me. I will face the public until they start coming up. Uh, they will sign up. They will either pay for the reading before or after, but I prefer my wife tell them, okay, we got to pay for it before, because some people just, oh, well, I'll be back in 20 minutes, and they don't come back for an hour. So
Right.
and that messes up the schedule. So we tell them they have to be there a certain time because we have a sign up sheet for that. And the last time I was there, I did 16 readings. So I'm busy.
Wow. So
Um,
is it timed or is it based on what messages need to be said?
it's timed. I do a 20-minute reading at these types of things, but I will look around and if there's more information I need to tell this person, there are some who come to me and well, the basic thing is that I have someone who will come and sit in front of me, and I'll hold their hand, and I'll be like, "Oh, hold on," and they'll be like, "What?" I'm like, I got to ask some questions here." I'm like, "Oh, go ahead and ask." I said, "No, I'm not going to ask you. I'm asking them. Hold on," and I'll ask a couple questions, and I'll come back and look at them and say, "Okay, why is it that you're sitting here in front of me when you can get answers for yourself? Because I know that you're actually a medium. You just haven't really moved forward with it." And then they look at me and go, "Holy shit!" And I go, "Yeah." And I said, "How'd you think I knew that?" And they say, "I don't know." I said, "'Cause you're talking to the real fucking medium over here, not these circus acts over here.
Uh-huh.
So, let's get into it, and let's get into why you need my help." And then we get into it. And sometimes I have to give them a little bit more information because I'm trying to get them on their way so they know where to go and what to do next, and I don't want them to develop bad habits because some of them do. So, yeah, sometimes it's gonna be 30 minutes, but I will do that if I know that no I'll look on the list over there, "Oh, no one's coming up right away? Okay, I got a little bit of a break here. Cool, and we got some time, and we'll sit there
Right.
and have a talk for a while." What do I charge them after that? I charge $40 for that reading. And what do I charge them after that first 20 minutes? Nothing. Because I'm trying to help them. That's what I
Right.
do. I'm here to help people. I'm not trying to get into your pockets and get all your money and get you out of the door as quick as I can. I want you to be there and get as much as you can out of it. Even so much, I will ask them, "Do you want to record this session? Get out your phone. Let's record this because I
Wow,
may be
that's
giving
awesome.
some information, right? And then you may not be able to pick up on all of it or remember all of it. You're going to hear it on my phone. And then I'll
Do a lot of people listen to do that?
yeah, every one of them always does that. And there's a lot of people that are like some older women who come up and they don't even know how to use the video section of their phone. So I turn on the camera for them and then I hit video and then I go, "Hello, Cleveland," or something like that, or "Cleveland rocks," something like that in their phone. And then I say, "Okay, hold it like this, and now give me your other hand. Let's get to work." And then that's what I do.
That's awesome. What do you think? So there's one thing that I've noticed that a lot of like just public who go see psychic mediums, they say, "Oh, my medium, I got to go see my medium." Do you think this is one of those situations like what you do is something where that should be reoccurring, that somebody should come back to you, or is
No.
it something where you give them the guidance and they leave and they go on their way?
That's what I do. I don't want them to come back to me for in a couple of weeks or something like that. I have recently had one, the last show that I went to last month, where a woman and her husband came in, and and I was just sitting in a chair in front of my booth, just hanging out because it was kind of slow. And this woman came up to the table, and I saw her standing there, and and the guy sat next to me. I said, "Is that your wife?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Wasn't she just here like last month?" He said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, but she needed some answers for some things she wanted to know." And I said, "Hmm. Oh, yeah, she doesn't want regular answers. She wants things that she wants to hear." And he said, "Yes." I said, "She knows I don't do that. I
Yeah.
don't give you what you wanna hear. I give you what you need to hear. So why is she coming back?" I mean, she should know better because I told her that last time. I don't do that. So she's like, but I have some things I wanna know." I said, "Well, I gave you everything you needed to know that is going to set you on your path for at least 6 months. I don't want you coming back to me for at least 6 months. You have the answers I gave you, you have to live that part of your life. You can't hop, skip, and jump. You gotta go through the entire thing to get to the end." I don't wanna wait around." I said, "You know why you don't wanna wait around? That's why you came to me in the first place, because every time you try to do it your way, you screwed it up. I'm
Right.
here to give you the answers, the truthful answers, so but you're gonna have to live life." It's the and she's like, "Well, I don't know what to." I said, "You know, this is," I said to her, "This is not what I do. I don't do what I don't give them what they want to hear." I said, "So you have some questions of things you want to hear?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Go to that lady over there, because 'cause she'll tell you what you wanna hear." At the end, I sat there and talked to this guy for like 20 minutes, and I was telling him all about spiritual things, and he's like, "Yeah, that's what I do, and I follow that." He said, "I can't seem to get my wife to do that." I said, "Well, that's your wife's problem, not yours." But,
Right.
at the end of the day, I went up to that other reader and I said to her, "Hey, how did it go with that lady I sent you?" And she's like, "Oh, it was pretty good." And she goes, "You wanna know what I told her, though?" I said, "What did you tell her?" She said, "At the end of the reading, I told her, 'Whatever spirit medium Daniel told you to do, that's what I want you to do.'" And I just laughed,
Uh,
because they
the
just
truth isn't meant to be what you want it to be.
no,
It's not. I mean, because
no.
it's not, life isn't easy.
No, if it was meant to be easy, what would be the point of living? If you were given everything in your lifetime, you wouldn't appreciate the things that you do have. So, yeah, it's going to be hard, but again, everybody wants that easy button. They want it to be like, "Oh, angels are gonna come down and fix all my problems." Well, they're not, and you're not gonna have angels with you. I mean, no one has a guardian angel in your lifetime. I know the motorcycle guys, because 'cause I'm into that, think, "Oh, I got my guardian angel with me all the time." If you had a guardian angel following you around, guarding you from everything in your life, what would you learn?
No,
Nothing.
no.
Right. So they don't understand that. So I tell them, they're not gonna come down here and fix your life. They're gonna try to help you make better decisions, but you have to fix your life. It's up to you to do that. But you have to learn to listen, trust, and follow through with what they're trying to tell you to do. And specifically, you're not gonna have archangels or angels help you do that. They don't do that.
It's not their
You have
job. It's not their
right.
role in existence.
Right, you have spirit guides who are gonna help you do that, and most people don't even wanna listen to that. They wanna pick and choose what they want. They only want the bullet points in life.
Mhm.
No, life is not bullet points.
Mm-mm.
It's just not.
It's not. And we
No.
talk about life. We've talked about life a lot throughout this episode, and that's another thing is like you and I have touched on this in the past, just having conversation um, about being here to learn lessons,
Yeah.
and what our physical forms are just aren't. I mean, they don't last long enough for us to learn the lessons we need to learn. Um, so we've talked about the idea of reincarnation, I'm curious and I want you to kind of explain to the people your views on that.
Um, Reincarnation is happening for one reason, not about the lessons, because everything in your life you're doing is a lesson. If I pick up, I have a cough drop here. If I pick up my cough drop and I put it down, that's a lesson. If I pick it up and I drop it, well, how do I learn that lesson? Next time I'll grip it a little bit tighter so that way I won't drop it. But recognizing that and going, okay, this is how I change that. Okay. But it's not a good lesson or a bad lesson. It's just a lesson.
Right.
But everything in your life is going to be that. but it's what you're meant to do is fulfilling your purpose. And your purpose is not becoming a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher. That's an occupation. That's something you choose as an occupation. You will fulfill your purpose while doing one thing, by being one thing, human. And your purpose is we're here to help each other, just for the sake of helping, not because you can, but because you should, in a way where you're going to help them to do something they can physically not do for themselves, or you're helping them to figure it out. Like if you're driving down the street, you see a dog in the middle of the street, you go, let me get that dog out of the road. I got to find its owner. Let me take it to the vet. Maybe I'll take it home with me. You're helping. Or you're one of those people who says, I ain't got time for that dog. I'm late for work. Well, if you're late for work, get up earlier. It's a lot simpler that way. So, but yeah, I'm here to tell them that you got to get that purpose fulfilled, because if you don't get it fulfilled, we do it throughout our lives, but we don't do it enough as our Creator, as God, as the Source wants us to do. He wants us to learn, and He wants us to learn a lot. And if we don't do it enough as He would like us to do, He just brings you back. I mean, again, these angels, they're not going to save you from dying in a car accident. Why?
Yeah, they're not meant to.
Because,
That's not their job.
right, everybody dies, no matter what. There's 2 rules in this world. As long as you comprehend and follow them, you'll pay attention. You'll love everyone else in your life and your own life a lot more. And rule number 1 is people die every day. And rule number 2 is you can't change rule number 1. When it's your time to go, it just is. So they're not going to save you from death because they know they can bring you back again. So why
Right.
would they do that? It's not their job. People want all this other responsibility put on them to keep the people from doing stupid stuff. But you're not going to learn unless you do some stupid stuff. You're not going to learn that this stupid stuff doesn't work for you. Maybe I should stop doing it. There is no wrong or right. There's no epic failures. There's no mistakes. There's only what works and what doesn't work. And if it doesn't work for you, quit doing it. It's that simple. But you're not going to learn those things unless you do that. And angels aren't going to keep you from doing that stuff because you won't learn. So you may have to die a few times and come back a bunch of times in order to get it correct.
Do you
And that's
believe
what it
that?
is.
I mean, not. Would you say that when you transfer into another life, that stuff follows over with you?
Well, absolutely. If you've ever had a deja vu, that's a memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
If you've ever had a feeling like, I feel like I've been here before, that type of thing. Yeah. Or I did a show the other day with a woman, and she asked me about her previous lifetimes, and I said, well, I don't do the past lifetime stuff too much, but I did know that she did pass away 2 times in her lifetimes under the age of 30 years old. And I said, one of those lifetimes, you were 7 years old. And I said, you drowned in that lifetime. You were in a boat, in a lake. You fell out of the boat into the water and you drowned. And she was like, what? And I said, you drowned. I said, why? Do you have an affinity for water or something? You don't like that stuff or something? She goes, no, I don't mind water. But she says, but anytime I'm in water, I have to have my feet on the ground. I don't like to float. I have to have my feet planted on the ground because if I don't, I feel like I'm going to drown. And I said, bingo.
Yeah.
I can't make it up. You know,
Right.
I mean, out of the what is that? There used to be a TV show called 1,000 Ways to Die or something like that.
Yes.
There's 1,000 ways you could die. How did I just pick that one from a previous life that transposed into this life? How did I just pick that one?
Right.
Like, again, I can't just make this crap up. So
Well, and like people who dream of flying and stuff like that, that's
I
just
do all the time, and I hate
everybody does.
flying.
Everybody's done it though. Like
Yeah.
it's sort of that transference between lives, or the remembrance of that happening at some point.
Yeah, I do that all the time. Yeah, it's just it comes through. Because why does it come through? Because it comes through with your soul. Because when your soul has been in different bodies, having different lifetimes and going through different experiences, when it has to come back again, it's just coming into a new body, but it's that same soul that's been through everything, and it's now trying to guide you, telling you, hey, when you go into the water next time, don't float because there's a possibility you might drown again.
I
So
do.
that's why it's giving you that feeling to not do that.
Before we wrap this up, I kind of want to get on something a little bit touchy that I know is a big deal nowadays. Is gays, lesbians, all that stuff, and is it a choice? Is it not a choice? But as we pass between our lives, our souls don't have a sex or a gender. We just are love, and we acknowledge or no.
That well, they do in a sense where the soul that's inside of you right now doesn't look like you. It looks like you the last time you were here, but it doesn't retain the sexuality part of it. It's still you, just a previous time, but it's a soul is everything.
Yeah.
It is man and woman. It is everything. It is
But is that something that could, let's say you were a man in this life and a woman in the next life, and like you get into that next life and you realize, oh, I like women. Is that you
absolutely
think
yes.
it's just because that knowledge as your soul is that that's what resonate with or I don't
Correct.
know, connect with.
Yeah. So basically, what would happen is you would be a man uh, the last 6 or 7 lifetimes, and then you come into a woman's body. Of course, that's exactly what's going to happen. That's exactly what it is. But people don't want to. But again, religion's not going to tell you that because you can't lie with men or you can't lie with women if you're the same sex. So it's always been taboo. But I see spirit all the time. I see women kissing women because in spirit you can still do that. I see men kissing men. I see that. But I don't just see that. I saw something a couple months ago that looked like a woman having sex with another spirit. The only thing I could equate it to would look like a werewolf. So love is love is love. Love does not have judgment. People have judgment. So
Right.
people are always going to judge each other, but until they become going back to a soul again, they're going to figure out, oh, well, I guess that guy was right because they don't. Everyone, you're
It's
allowed
all
to
about
love.
love.
You're allowed to love whoever you want to. It's your
Yeah.
preference. It's your choice. How come you're allowed to choose which president you're allowed to vote for, but you're not allowed to love anybody you don't want to? Why is there exceptions to that rule? There is no exception to that rule. All you have to do is stop letting people influence you on those choices. That's all. They don't matter. What matters is you. That's what
That's
matters.
great. That's great, man. I appreciate you so much. Hey, everybody, Spirit Medium Daniel tonight. Thank you so much for being on here this evening. This show has been very eye opening in general. Like this is my third episode. I've had 3 different people on, and there's pieces from each one that I'm like, that makes sense, and that I'm like, nah, I don't know about that. You know, so and that's for you, the viewers. I mean, none of us can tell you what you want to believe. Believe what you want. This show is just here for you to acknowledge the possibilities and what is and what isn't, and love has been the number one factor out of all of them, out of everybody that I've talked to.
I agree.
So Spirit Medium Daniel, I appreciate your time this evening. Is your book still on Amazon?
My book is still on Amazon. You just go on Amazon, you put in Daniel Jackson, The New Beginning, My Awakening as a Spirit Medium, and you will find it there for $8. Or the ebook is $6.49. We're also working right now. I haven't been doing it for the last couple of weeks, but I only have a few more pages left to do of an audio version of the book as well. But
Okay.
we're doing it in my voice, so
I will.
that's why it's been so difficult.
I would not want to hear your voice for it. I'm just kidding.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. My
I'm
wife has
just
the same
kidding.
sentiment. Yeah.
But I will put that in the description for the episode. I'm so glad that book's still out there, and obviously, I'm so glad that you and I are still friends, man. I've known you since I started this,
That ain't
and
never gonna stop.
you've been here for my whole ride, and even if it's just somebody to bullshit with, you're a good friend of mine, and I appreciate you so much.
We're always bouncing ideas off of each other all
Mm,
the time for especially for podcasting and just
mm,
for regular life as well. So
yeah,
what is wrong with that? Nothing.
nothing at all. All right, everybody that's been tuning in tonight, there's been a few of you popping on and off, and for those of you that are listening later on or watching this later on, just just love, and,
Yep.
and acknowledge that not everything's going to be right. Just do the best that you can, but do it with a purpose of getting somewhere and doing something. Don't look for somebody else's guidance.
Right.
It's there. You just gotta find it.
I believe the Beatles had it right because all you need is love.
It's, you can't say it better. All right, everybody. Until next time, we will see you around.